Good Monday morning. Welcome to day 4 of Vlogmas. I've just finished working on the 4th stripe of my Land of Sweets cowl. You can see there I finished yesterday's textured stripe with the aqua and lilac yarn, and today's stripe is just plain stockinette in this tonal aqua merino. When I first started working on it today, this was kind of a mystery yarn. I thought it might be either Fleece Artist Merino or Ocean Wind Knits Merino. Just had the look and the feel of it. So I went looking through my projects and I couldn't find it in mine. But then I looked in Jessica's, and sure enough, back in I think 2007 or 8, she had knit a pair of socks in Ocean Wind Knits Merino in the Splash colorway, and I'm pretty sure this is it. The dyer behind Ocean Wind Knits is actually a friend of mine. We used to work together here in Chilliwack at a yarn shop. Well, she mostly worked at the owner's shop in Abbotsford, but we got to know each other. During that time was kind of the mid to like 2003 to 8, something like that. And so she's since moved to Ontario and is continuing her dyeing business there. Last night, after we hung up the Christmas lights, while Matt and Cam sat and had a beer, I went and worked some more on the pink nightgown and continued that up until while the pizzas were baking too. So I'll show you my progress on that a little while later, and I plan to hopefully finish up that nightgown today. Today's laundry day here. My washer just signaled that the first load is done, so I've got to go switch loads over. I don't enjoy doing laundry, but I always think compared to our ancestors, we've got it pretty easy. Other than sorting and folding and putting away, the machine does most of the work for us. So really, what do we have to complain about, right? Another job I really have to do today is clean the bathrooms. It's my least favorite household job, but obviously one of the most important, and one that I tend to put off way too long. So that's going to get done today. Other than that, I've got a fair bit of time for sewing and knitting. I'm thinking about maybe casting on my sock bash socks for December. I don't think my Christmas yarns are going to be here in time to really, well, I guess I could push it if I waited, but I'd rather get started on them. And so might do that later. Last night we sat and watched some TV, and I knit on Stan socks for a while. We watched the Carol Burnett 50th anniversary special, and I don't know if Carol Burnett's very well known outside of North America, but she's a comedic actress who had a variety show kind of late 60s into the 70s. I think they said she was on for 11 years. Anyway, that was a good trip down memory lane. It's something that we certainly watched in our house while I was growing up, and very familiar with her and her supporting cast. They were just hilarious, so that was a really nice way to spend yesterday evening. So yeah, I'm gonna go now, change that laundry over, and I'll be back in a little while. I'll show you what I got done on the nightgowns, or the nightgown. I have my ironing board set up here in the hallway outside of my craft room. You can see my sewing machine set up in there. I used to have this set up on the other wall, but I really like it in front of the window because it gives me a lot more light. Anyway, so last night I worked on the yoke some more and did the buttonholes. My machine is only about 1.5 years old and I haven't really had to use the buttonholes much, but it's a really cool contraption. You actually put the button itself in the buttonhole foot, and so it sews a buttonhole that's tailor-made to the size of your button. And I think it's a really nice nice buttonhole. So pleased with how those turned out. And then, as you can see, I've basted the lace onto it in preparation for sewing the main body of the nightgown to the yoke. The pattern called for lace in several places, but I'm just doing it on the yoke. So yeah, that's ready to go. Sorry, I hope you don't get seasick. And then I worked on, I sewed up the sleeve seams and have turned under the hems in preparation for sewing a casing here. So that's my next step, is to sew the casing here. And also I sewed up the main body of the nightgown, the two side seams. Oops. Two side seams, and then I've also turned up the hem, so I just have to sew that next. And on a garment like this, all I do is I sew my seam and then I just zigzag and trim it close to the zigzag. On other types of garments, I'll sometimes do some fancier seam finishes that enclose the seam, but for something like this, I think it's adequate. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew the hem and the casings now, and then I can attach the sleeves to the main body. This time of year we're wearing hand knit socks. Well, I wear them every day, Cameron most days, so doing up washing the week's worth of socks. So I just run a bit of lukewarm water and put just a little squirt of soak, or I also have this Eucalan. So I just put a little bit of that, and I will leave these to soak for about 20 minutes, and then I'll spin them out in my washing machine and hang them up on the rack. And presto, another week's worth of socks hung up to dry. Again, it's mid-afternoon. I've been working on the nightgown off and on between laundry and lunch and such. So I've got the, did the casings, put the elastic in the sleeves, and sewed the sleeves to the main body, and I just finished running the gathering stitches to attach this main body to the yoke. So that always takes a little bit of time to get the gathers just right to pin it out. So I thought this was a good time to stop for a cup of tea, and I'll sit down and have a cup of tea while I do that. So I've got the kettle going, and I might as well do my advent calendar for the day. So day number 4. 4 is up in the right hand corner. So we'll see, what do we got today? Organic Silk Dragon Jasmine. Now that sounds like my kind of tea. Yeah, it looks just like a regular tea, nothing too fancy going on there. It's tougher getting it open. Oh yes, that's definitely my kind of tea. Just a lovely jasmine scent. So I know I'm going to enjoy this one. No question. Oops, that lid's a little bit finicky. Doesn't want to. There we go. But the threads are wonky, so I'll just go ahead and put the drawer back in so you can see there's the next piece of the puzzle. So yeah, after I put the yoke on, other than the buttons, the nightgown will be done. So I'll come back in a while and show you how it goes. So as I was expecting and hoping, the jasmine tea was delicious. I will definitely look at purchasing that separately. I do have jasmine black pearls, which I get from David's Tea, and it's a similar flavor. So I do, as I say, I do like my jasmine tea. So as I sipped on that, I pinned out the yolk and was watching the most recent episode of the Suburban Stitcher podcast. Started watching it this morning, and I see that Diane is doing Vlogmas also, so I haven't caught up on her Vlogmas episodes. And there's Little Bobbins Knits is also doing Vlogmas, so there's a few podcasts I need to catch up on, and I want to try and at least, if I can, keep up with other people's Vlogmas, because it's kind of fun. I didn't talk about yesterday's tea at all. As far as what I thought of it, it was strawberry rhubarb parfait, and normally I'm not a fan of sweet teas and I'm not a fan of fruit teas, but actually this was not too bad. I added a little bit of milk, which actually turned it kind of a pinky beige color, so it was kind of ugly. But it was inside my thermal cup, so I didn't have to look at it while I drank it. And it was nice and hot while we were working outside, and had a little bit of a creamy taste, which I guess is from I think it said had yogurt chips in it or something like that. So not bad. I don't think I'd ever purchase it again separate from this advent calendar, but I didn't mind it, and I'll certainly drink the remaining tea that I have. So I did pin out the yoke on the nightgown and sewed it on, and I had to rip out and redo a few sections. In one place I caught the yoke fabric in the seam, and in another I had to kind of adjust the way that the ruffle was, the lace was sitting, because it was caught up. But in general, I'm pretty happy with it. Top stitched around the yoke now, so it's ready to go. All it needs is our buttons, and I've got this just very simple buttons to go on it here. And then I was thinking I might see if I have a little bit of pink ribbon or white ribbon and do a little bow for the front, and then we'll call that done. So yeah, I'm gonna go sit down, sew those buttons on right now, and Lisa from Fiber Nymph Dye Works, or the 90% Knitting podcast, let me know that she's put up a special episode doing the Knit Life survey that I tagged her in a few weeks ago. So I'm going to go turn that on and sew buttons. I was just getting a drink of water looked out the kitchen window and just looked how gorgeous the mountains look right now. Their peaks are poking through the clouds. Fresh snow. I never get tired of this view. I feel very, very lucky to have it. So not only did I get my bathrooms cleaned, I also managed to get a workout in this late this afternoon. So feeling pretty good about that. I can cast on my sock bash socks tonight with a clear conscience. So my husband just called. He's on his way home from work, so I'm going to get dinner going shortly. And so I think I'll call that Vlogmas for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.